So between the two extremes, the extreme of nihilism and the extreme of eternalism, if one falls into the extreme of nihilism, that is more dangerous, because if you fall into the extreme of nihilism, then there is no basis left for any spiritual practice, such as cultivation of bodhicitta, compassion, and so on. So between the two extremes, it's less dangerous to fall into the extreme of eternalism, because even when one upholds some eternalistic views, one can still have a basis for spiritual practice. Therefore, even Buddha states in one of the sutras that egoistic self-grasping is like the backbone of Buddhahood.
So therefore, of course, it took some time, but I thought, you see, maybe useful. You see, so long the practitioner feel the non-independent existence, it feels some uncomfortable.
Discomfort.
Then don't worry about that, don't think that. Those lesser sort of emptiness, think these, meditate on these. So the most important is our view, no matter how sort of beautiful word, but the actual sort of mental attitude go to nihilist view. That is dangerous, not good. 아주 젊지, 고랑 남다가 순나게 요하리, 다도 돕시나, 아사. 최는 düzen mikba medaya, 샤무 땡지 잠시 캐노라스. 자 땡지 샤무리 기도와 잠시. 디한테 다들 저 맞아 공부다. 자 점주 코로나 무슨 말이야? 땡지 사이드 롱루 정하더니 조서 매시지. 자 롱루 민장 다요. 그냥 땡지 정하시. 아니 땡지 샤무 좋아지. 저 düzen mikba medaya, 샤무 땡지 잠시 캐나다. 다들 점주가 무슨 매기 숨나로 다들 미세가 보겠네. 맨날 남전하리야. 아니 나와 땐지 루어에 맞아. 또가 캘린트 거의 지시 소소나고 지시도 더더더 공부 또 매 세소도. 그래서 카이션에 가면 난 점주가 방송에 더러 주제 나오리야. 성우는 쇼가 장的초. 최대 너무人心 매바나 균제 땡땡 저거 깜매장 세소노. 단저 오메롱의 임시 되게 말씀 때는 제 생각다 소리한테. 저서 아다 가사도 처음이다. 나는 민의 처음 오고 주고도 왔습니다. 근데 그 상황 무슨 괜찮아 말해. 그냥 내들지 권유. 남배철 역사에서 이내 부부부부대 간 영화사 시가 됐어. 근데 생각이 권유. 근데 시기 센스 권유. 들으라 말해. 나도 그 세대가 되고.
So even in Tsongkhapa's own writing, for example, in one of his earlier compositions, which is a retelling of the story of one of the Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattva Tapamun, there, in one of the passages, Tsongkhapa describes that although since all phenomena are devoid of inherent existence, not even a single atom possesses inherent existence, only for the sake of the others, one accepts the kind of the transactional level of dependent origination. So there, at that stage, it seems that Tsongkhapa was not, veering more towards the nihilistic position, and was not able to fully appreciate the teaching on the dependent origination, so that for him, emptiness and dependent origination were two contrasting perspectives, so that dependent origination can only be understood for the sake of others. So later on, in his later compositions, such as Three Principal Aspects of the Path, then it is very explicitly emphasized.
Eventually, after he spent a long time of study, contemplation, and also created a lot of
merits, merits through
merits. Then, with help of Buddha Balita's writing, he fully experienced about the middle way of the emptiness. So then he wrote Tentativity.
So then he composed praised the Buddha for teaching the principle of dependent origination, and also in the three principal elements of the path, Tsongkhapa explicitly says that so long as one's understanding of the infallibility of the law of principle the law of dependent origination and the emptiness that is free of any form of objectification, so long as these two perspectives remain contradictory or incompatible, until then one has not arrived at the full understanding of the intent of the Buddha. And when the two arises simultaneously, one reinforcing the other, that's when the process of inquiry and quest has come to an end. Similarly, in his Lamrim Chemo, Great Exposition of the Stages of the Path, in the section on Vipassana, Special Insight, at one point there is a certain few verses as a kind of a respite, where Tsongkhapa writes that those who are learned in the treatises of the Middle Way, although it is difficult to maintain the notion of causality and cause and effect in a world that is devoid of inherent existence, yet one should uphold this standpoint to be the true middle way. So even there, he acknowledges the difficulty of maintaining these two perspectives, the perspective of emptiness of all phenomena, the perspective of the dependent origination. And he says that although it may be difficult to maintain the notion of cause and effect in a world that is devoid of inherent existence, but that is the true middle way, and one must uphold it. So, therefore, if one is not able to really, move to that extent, then it is better to stay at a slightly, grosser level of understanding of teaching on no self and emptiness, because there will be no danger of falling into nihilism. Because if you have this discomfort and unease with this literal, radical reading of emptiness of all phenomena, inherent existence of all phenomena, then it is better to stay in a more safer stage, so that none of these difficult questions of nihilistic tendencies will arise. So I think it is important to underscore this point, because someone told me that apparently someone who knows the Buddhist thought quite well remarked that if you look at the Buddhist teachings, there are beautiful teachings and practices, but when you really push down and at the heart of this, then they will end up saying there is nothing. So there is that perception.